3-axis gimbals are amazing tools. It's crazy to think that not even a decade ago, the ability to achieve clean, controlled tracking shots on the go was something the average video shooter on a budget struggled with. Back before the widespread accessibility of gimbals, you'd be looking at making dolly tracks every time you needed a smooth, travelling camera movement, or being able to operate a steadycam at a professional level. Neither of these things are particularly run and gun, one-man band friendly. Not to mention, the motion of a steadycam has its own sort of style and feeling. Gimbal moves more resemble dolly moves, with the added flexibility of movement you get from operating a steadycam. Nowadays though, you might need a dolly shot on the fly, maybe you're shooting on uneven ground, maybe you simply don't have the budget for a huge track. Gimbals have you sorted, providing you take the time to properly learn how to use them, and also to think about why you're using them for your shot. There are basically two types of 3-axis handheld gimbal available. The bigger, heavier, two-handled gimbal, and the smaller, lighter, pistol grip gimbal. Bigger gimbals have a much higher payload and can carry more weighty setups, whereas the pistol grip style gimbals are mainly built for lighter cameras. Zhiyun actually released their Crane 3S recently, which takes up to 6.5 kg. That's kind of crazy, as that's nearing the payload of my original DJI Ronin. I find that a bigger gimbal is much sturdier, smoother to pan, and less prone to shaking than the more compact gimbals are. However, these smaller gimbals are very useful in a variety of situations. Shots from moving vehicles, of landscapes, people, other moving vehicles. All of this is very easy to achieve using a pistol grip gimbal. Even in terms of safety precautions, for example, all of the shots shown here were taken safely from inside a vehicle. Windows could be opened and lenses could be changed to get around any limitations from shooting inside the car. This kind of stabilisation with an on-the-go style of shooting can create shots that would usually need to be perfectly set up with car rigs, and it's great that we can achieve shots like this so easily now. The compact nature of these smaller gimbals means they're much easier to pack, travel and shoot with when compared to their larger counterparts. Not only does this make it easier to travel up and shoot things in locations like mountains and hills, but I've even taken the Ronin-s with me previously for a day of canoeing with some friends. The gimbal was small enough to fit into the waterproof barrel on our canoe, which meant when things were safe to film, I could simply take it out and get these super smooth shots right in the middle of a river. It's pretty amazing to be able to have that sort of stabilisation with a cinema camera in that situation. There's plenty of other things you can do with smaller gimbals, as they're compact enough to mount to things like cranes and boom arms with ease, making those difficult shots much easier to manage, not to mention cheaper. What about bigger gimbals? You're not going to be squeezing these into the same spaces as the smaller gimbals, and it's going to be more time and money attaching them to different mounts and accessories. Not to mention, a fair bit heavier to carry and shoot with. Generally, the setups you'd use on a smaller gimbal are going to be light enough for you to shoot for a decent amount of time. Whereas with a bigger gimbal, you're going to experience a bit of back and arm pain if you're shooting long takes. Accessories to ease the weight are available for both types of gimbal. This is basically a necessity if you're shooting a full day's work, especially with a bigger gimbal. I've shot plenty of live music performances with the bigger gimbal without any kind of support, and using it constantly for a 4 to 5 minute track does take it out of you. Personally, I use the bigger gimbal when I need more precise, stable movement. The weight and motor power keeps things steadier, and you're a lot less prone to bumps and shakes. It's a lot easier to pull off smooth pans and tilts than it is with a smaller gimbal, with a slower, more natural motion with an easing in and out of the movement. I also find with a larger gimbal, there's usually less work to be done post-stabilisation wise. Sometimes I actually don't even need to make any adjustments here at all, and the shots come out perfectly as is. The main thing to try and make sure of when using a gimbal to achieve slower cinematic movements is to keep whatever motion you're doing as simple and as constrained as possible. Swinging the gimbal around with no thought or reason put into your movement or composition will only draw attention to the fact that you filmed with a gimbal, taking your audience out of the shot. Your job should be to immerse your audience in the shot, not to draw attention to how you shot it. Gimbals can teach you how to use movement in your work, to convey ideas and feelings. They can add dynamics and interest to your shots. They can even help you out in a pinch if you're missing something, like a tripod. Overall though, gimbals can help your craft massively. If you put the work into learning how best to utilise them. If you're interested in how I colour grade my work, I've just added an 18-minute tutorial video to my website for just £8. The tutorial takes you through the grading process in DaVinci Resolve with two cinematic looks, a more modern, punchy look and a more classical, filmic look. I've also included some practice DNG files so you can grade along with the video. Head over to www.robelliscinematography.com/downloads to grab the video.